Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, are an established set of 10 types of traumatic childhood events that are proven to have negative effects later in our lives. Half of the 10 ACEs identified are abuse and neglect. The remaining 5 have to do with family challenges or issues. Research from across the United States has verified a direct link between these ACEs and health outcomes as an adult. This is not a new idea. However, research has provided us with overwhelming proof childhood trauma does cause serious impacts to both our physical and mental health. The more ACEs a child has, the stronger the risk of having serious health challenges later in life. At the same time, many people show remarkable resilience in recovering from childhood trauma, changing their life path toward health and happiness. The ACE study is a powerful tool for informing and educating youth and adults. It's a call to action for all of us. Now is the time to work together to raise awareness, build stronger support systems, and prevent childhood trauma.
When I reflect upon ACEs in my life, I look back at my childhood and I realize that a lot of those traumas that I had that we now call ACEs really brought me down a path where I had really struggled as an adolescent. I dropped out of high school, ran away from home, got pregnant. Every parent's worst nightmare.
I grew up in a very strict family environment, also a very strict boarding school environment, as in Catholic boarding school, where everything was cut and dry. You know, you cross the line, no one ever asked you why you crossed the line.
I had a high number of ACEs. I had several things happen in my childhood that would qualify as ACEs. So I had that 4 or more kind of category. And all of a sudden it made me look back at my own experiences and think, oh, looking at my own parents, as parents, they both probably had a few ACEs and adverse childhood experiences in their history too. My father definitely, and I kind of looked at him as a parent who, he was definitely not a great father, but I also understood that he was probably being the best parent that he was able to be at the time, given how he grew up and what he had to go through as a child.
Growing up in a family that had experienced a lot of trauma together, there was a lot of emotional responses. We didn't talk about what those emotions do to us, or that they're normal, or that when you're angry, you shouldn't be calling people names, or some of the other effects that emotions have on us. And when I found out about ACEs, what I found out was that I was normal, that other people that had the same experiences that I did made a lot of the same decisions. And I was able to really look at it as a part of a growing and healing process instead of a deficit or me being bad or me being broken.
It made me kind of reflect back on my parenting and what I did as a parent, what I maybe could have done differently. If I had had this information, what I might have done differently. And I think in particular with my oldest child, who is a product of my first marriage. So he went through a divorce, his father's an alcoholic. So I passed those, by making those choices, I passed those adverse childhood experiences on to him.
Well, I have to look at my 2 daughters when they were growing up. And I wish I had not reacted in some of the ways that I had reacted towards some of their behaviors, especially with one daughter who questioned authority. And basically, to me, that meant she was misbehaving. I have to be more understanding about what they do, what they say, how they act. I've become more tolerant of my grandchildren's behavior than I was before I heard about ACEs. I tend to talk with them now and not talk at them, which is what I did with my daughters.
The message I want to give my kids is bad things are going to happen. It's how you deal with those bad things. Going over with them, okay, what happened? And how were you feeling before that happened? If you're angry, what can you do with those feelings?
There's a couple of things that I found that have been really important to building that resilience for my children. And one is that simple things like we eat dinner together or we plan activities together. So we're continuing to build our relationship. I also make a point of letting my children know what they're doing right. As parents, we want to teach them, and sometimes in the past I have used criticism to teach them. And I really found that I want my kids to grow and grow stronger. So I really started focusing on those positive aspects.
Having a community of people around them who love and care about them, that are giving them those messages that they are loved and cared for and are worthy of that love. So surround themselves with people who can be supportive. I know that for me, I had a couple of teachers, a school counselor, those people who maybe only said something to me once or twice, but they said it at just the right moment, just when I needed to hear it, that I could do something, that I was capable. And you never know who that person's going to be or how they're going to be part of your life.
I think the most important thing about learning about ACEs is it demonstrates to us that as parents, and we don't have to be ashamed and we don't have to pass those ACEs on to our children.
Because I do feel like that knowledge of those experiences and what those long-term effects can be is powerful knowledge that you can then do something with.
We have to choose to do something different. We have to be intentional about making those changes because it won't happen on its own. I want to give my kids the best chance at succeeding in life, which means I have to do things different than my parents. So the choices that I make now are based on not what I was taught or what I'm afraid of, but what I've learned.
But first of all, people need to be, shall we say, need to be jolted, need to be awakened to, let's say, ACEs, for example. What has been transmitted, to our children, has to be transformed. And that transformation has to come from the parents.